20 years. 20 long, agonising, beautiful, heartbreaking years. And last night, at a sold-out Emirates Stadium, Arsenal Football Club punched their ticket to the Champions League final. I am James, and if you are not already subscribed, hit that button right now, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the very end of this video, because we are going deep today. We are going into the celebration debate that has set the football world on fire. We are going into what Arsene Wenger said, what Wayne Rooney said, and why this conversation matters more than people realise. Like the video if you love Arsenal, drop your thoughts in the comments, let us get into it. Before we even talk about celebrations and pundits and opinions, I need you to understand what happened at the Emirates Stadium on Tuesday the 5th of May, 2026. This was not just a football match. This was not just a Champions League semi-final. Second leg. This was a moment in the history of this football club that very few of us genuinely believed we would live to see in our lifetimes. I have been an Arsenal supporter my entire life. I've watched this club suffer, rebuild, collapse, rebuild again, flirt with greatness, and then fall short for 2 decades in Europe. And on Tuesday night, Bukayo Saka, a kid from Ealing who grew up in our academy, poking home a rebound just before half-time to send Arsenal Football Club to the Champions League final for the first time since 2006. Let that sink in. 20 years. Mikel Arteta's men came into that second leg with the tie perfectly balanced at 1 goal apiece. The first leg in Madrid, 9 days earlier, had been an evening of nerves, brilliance and VAR controversy. Victor Gyökeres, what a signing this man has been, stepped up and buried a penalty to give us the lead at the Metropolitano. Julian Alvarez levelled from the spot after the restart. A third penalty was awarded when Eberechi Eze was brought down inside the box. VAR intervened and overturned the decision, denying us what could have been a crucial away goal. We came back to London level 1-1, everything still to play for. Then came Tuesday night. Now I want to be honest with you, because that is what this channel is about. The match itself was not a vintage Arsenal performance. In the classic attacking sense, Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone do not allow you to play football. They compress space, they foul you into submission, they make the game as ugly as it needs to be to survive. They were dangerous on the counter, particularly through Antoine Griezmann and Ademola Lookman. And there was a moment when Giuliano Simeone made a brilliant run in behind, and only a crucial intervention from Gabriel Magalhaes prevented what would have been an equaliser that could have changed everything. But here is the thing. Arsenal defended with extraordinary discipline. David Raya was commanding. William Saliba was immense. Gabriel was everywhere. And when Saka reacted quickest to poke home that rebound, the Emirates erupted in a way I have genuinely never heard before. Not in my years of following this club. The noise was something else entirely. Something primal. Something that came from 20 years of hurt finally being released into the North London night sky. After the final whistle, Arsenal players and staff celebrated together on the pitch. Arteta embraced his players. The squad celebrated with the fans. And it is that celebration that sparked a debate that has since taken over football conversation in this country. Wayne Rooney was present at the Emirates on Tuesday as a pundit for Prime Video. And in the aftermath of the final whistle, as Arsenal celebrated their historic achievement, Rooney offered his verdict. He said that Arsenal deserved to be in their position. He acknowledged the quality of the squad and the achievement of reaching the final. But then he added the line that has sent the internet into overdrive. He said the celebrations were, in his view, a little bit too much. He said, celebrate when you win. Now, I want to be fair to Rooney here. I genuinely do. Because the sentiment he is expressing is not an uncommon one in English football culture. There is a mentality in this country, particularly among former players of a certain era, that emotional restraint before the biggest prize is secured is a sign of professionalism, that you bank the moment, you acknowledge it privately, and then you redirect your focus immediately to the next challenge. That is a legitimate perspective. I am not going to sit here and dismiss Wayne Rooney as if he knows nothing about football or about winning trophies at the highest level. He does. He was a generational talent. He has been there. He has won leagues, cups, and he knows what it takes to reach the very top of the game. But here is where I fundamentally disagree with him, and I think the context matters enormously. This is Arsenal Football Club. This is a club that last appeared in a Champions League final 20 years ago. This is a squad of players who have grown up watching Arsenal come heartbreakingly close to major honours season after season, only to fall short. This is a fan base that has endured years of watching this club fight through injury crises, transitional periods, financial constraints, and enormous competitive pressure. And on Tuesday night, they made history again. The celebration was not excessive. The celebration was proportional to the magnitude of the achievement. And to suggest that a group of players and a manager who had just done something their club had not done in 2 decades should stand around in quiet professional contemplation is, in my view, completely disconnected from the emotional reality of what that moment meant. Wayne Rooney won trophies regularly with Manchester United. That is not meant as a criticism. It is simply a factual statement about context. When you exist in an environment where success is an expectation, the bar for what constitutes a celebration-worthy moment shifts. For Arsenal supporters and Arsenal players, reaching a Champions League final is not a stepping stone on a well-worn path. It is an earthquake. It is the thing we have been dreaming about for 20 years. I celebrate when we score against Tottenham in the North London derby. I celebrate when we beat Manchester City away from home. I am absolutely, categorically, unapologetically going to celebrate when this football club books a place in the Champions League final for the first time since I was a much younger man. And so should every player on that pitch. Now, here is where this story gets genuinely interesting, because the man who responded to Rooney's comments is not just any pundit. He is the greatest manager in Arsenal Football Club's history. The man who transformed us from a physical, powerful English side into an aesthetically breathtaking European-influenced football club. The man who took us to 2 Champions League final appearances, including that extraordinary run to the 2006 final in Paris, where a 10-man Arsenal side held Barcelona for over an hour, with Jens Lehmann sent off. The man who built dynasties, developed some of the most gifted footballers this country has ever produced, and who bleeds Arsenal red and white in a way that very few people on this planet can match. Arsene Wenger. Speaking on beIN Sports coverage of the match, the professor gave his verdict. He said that Arsenal's celebrations were normal, that they were deserved, that naturally the focus now must turn immediately to the final in Budapest on May 30th, but that the celebrations on Tuesday night were completely justified. He went further than that. He gave a genuine tactical assessment of why Arsenal deserved to go through. He pointed out that Arsenal wanted it more than Atletico. He talked about the defensive discipline that kept one of Europe's most experienced attacking units from scoring for the entire second leg. He noted that for 45 minutes in that second half, Atletico knew they had to score, they threw everything at Arsenal, and Arsenal gave them absolutely nothing. Think about that. Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid, a side with Julian Alvarez, Antoine Griezmann, and Ademola Lookman in their ranks. A side that conceded just once at home in the league phase against Arsenal. And that had eliminated some genuinely top-quality sides in this competition. And Arsenal shut them out completely for a full 45 minutes of desperate attacking pressure. That is not fortunate defending. That is not Route 1 organisation and hoping for the best. That is the product of an elite defensive structure, an elite goalkeeper in David Raya, elite central defenders in Saliba and Gabriel, and an elite defensive midfielder in Declan Rice, who is now, without question, operating at the very peak of his powers. Rice's passing statistics from the first leg alone were extraordinary. 83 completed passes in a Champions League semi-final. The second highest total ever recorded by an English midfielder in the competition in the data era. Only Michael Carrick against Schalke in 2011 bettered that figure. Wenger saw all of that, he understood all of that, and he defended the celebrations because he understood what they represented. When Wenger speaks about Arsenal, there is an authenticity that cannot be manufactured. He spent 22 years at this club. He knows what it feels like to be in these moments. He knows the emotional weight that carries. And when he said that the celebrations were normal and deserved, he was speaking as someone who has earned the right to make that judgment in a way that very few people in the game can claim. I want to spend some time on the tactical analysis that Wenger offered, because I think it is deeply important and somewhat underreported in the broader noise of the celebration debate. Wenger made a point about Atletico's limitations in the final third. He said that while Atletico had phases of the game where they dominated possession and territory, they lacked the clinical quality in the decisive moments to break Arsenal down. And he attributed that directly to Arsenal's defensive shape, their concentration, and their collective willingness to defend as a unit from the front foot. This is something Arteta has built over several seasons now. The pressing from the front, the coordinated defensive block, the ability of every attacking player in the squad to contribute defensively without sacrificing their offensive threat. Victor Gyökeres is an absolutely relentless presser. Bukayo Saka tracks back, makes tackles, covers ground that traditional right forwards simply do not cover. Gabriel Martinelli on the opposite side is an engine of constant movement. And the midfield trio, when Zubamendi, Rice and Odegaard are all fit and functioning, is arguably the best in the Premier League right now. Wenger highlighted the limitations of Atletico, and he was right to do so, because it reflects something important about the nature of this Arsenal side. When they defend well, when they keep their structure, when every player buys into the collective defensive responsibility, they are extraordinarily difficult to break down. They have the best defensive record in the Premier League this season. They have now kept another clean sheet against one of Europe's most experienced attacking sides in a Champions League semi-final second leg. That is not luck. That is a culture that Arteta has built from the ground up, and it has taken him years of difficult work to get here. Now let us talk about the broader picture, because what is at stake right now for Arsenal Football Club is genuinely, historically, almost incomprehensibly significant. They are in the Champions League final. They are top of the Premier League with 76 points from 35 games. Manchester City drew 3 goals each with Everton on Monday night and sitting 5 points behind with 1 game in hand and 4 games remaining. Arsenal have 3 Premier League games left: West Ham on May 10th, Burnley on May 17th and Crystal Palace on May 24th. If Arsenal win at West Ham and City fail to beat Brentford, the Gunners could mathematically wrap up their first Premier League title since the invincible season of 2003-04. 22 years without a league championship, and they are now on the very doorstep of ending that drought. Win the league, win the Champions League. That is an English and European double that no Arsenal side has ever achieved. That would not simply be the greatest season in this club's 140-year history. It would be one of the greatest achievements in the history of English football. Arteta said after the Atletico game that his players have made history again together. That after 20 years, and for only the second time in the club's history, Arsenal are back in a Champions League final. He said he had never felt the Emirates like that in his life. And I believe him, because I have not felt this as an Arsenal supporter in my lifetime. The final is on May 30th in Budapest. Arsenal await either Paris Saint-Germain or Bayern Munich. PSG hold a 5-4 aggregate advantage going into the second leg in Munich on Wednesday night. It is too close to call. Either side that comes through will represent an enormous challenge. But here is what I know. Arsenal have beaten Atletico Madrid over 2 legs. They beat Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate in the quarterfinals. They went through the entire league phase of this competition without losing. They have shown in every round of this tournament that they have the quality, the tactical discipline, and the mentality to compete with anyone. They are not underdogs anymore. They are Arsenal Football Club, and they are going to the Champions League final. I want to say something specifically about Mikel Arteta, because I think it is easy to underestimate just how remarkable his journey as a manager has been. He came to this club in December 2019 with no managerial experience at the top level. He took over a squad that was in disarray, a club that was in genuine institutional uncertainty. He had to rebuild the culture first, the football second. He had to ask players to buy into a set of values and a way of working that was new and demanding. There were difficult periods. There was real criticism of his methods, his selections, his decisions in big games. And yet he has remained consistent. He has remained true to his principles, and he has now built something that nobody in English football can ignore. 3 consecutive Premier League runner-up finishes, a Champions League semi-final reached last season, and now a Champions League final appearance this season. A squad that plays with intensity, technical quality, and collective organisation that is genuinely at the elite level of European football. And here is the thing about Arteta that I think gets overlooked. His teams defend brilliantly. The romanticised image of Wenger-era Arsenal is all flowing passes and beautiful goals, and rightly so. But the great irony is that one of the things separating this Arteta side from previous Arsenal teams is an iron defensive resolve, a refusal to be broken, a willingness to grind out results when the aesthetic quality is not there, because the result is what matters in the knockout rounds of the Champions League. That is a different kind of maturity, and Arteta deserves enormous credit for installing it. Let me come back to where we started. Let me give you my final take on the Wenger and Rooney debate. Wayne Rooney is not wrong that the work is not finished. He is not wrong that lifting the trophy is the ultimate goal. He is not wrong that there is still an enormous task ahead in Budapest on May 30th. All of that is true and undeniable. But football is not just about the destination. It is about the moments. It is about the nights that burn themselves into your memory for the rest of your life. It is about standing in a stadium or sitting in your living room and feeling something so powerful that no rational analysis can contain it. Tuesday night at the Emirates was one of those moments. The players have not done anything disrespectful. They have not said the job is done. They have not claimed a trophy. They have not yet won. They celebrated a historic achievement with their supporters in a way that was emotional, authentic, and completely proportional to what it meant. Arsene Wenger understands that because Arsene Wenger has lived those moments. He was in a dugout at the Stade de France in 2006 when 10-man Arsenal held Barcelona until the dying stages of a Champions League final. He knows what it means to this club to be back on that stage. He knows the weight of what Tuesday represented. And when the greatest manager in Arsenal's history says the celebrations were normal and deserved, that carries a weight that no amount of punditry from the outside can override. Celebrate, Gunners. Celebrate every single second of what this team has achieved. And then lock in. Focus. Because Budapest is 3 weeks away. The Premier League title is within touching distance. And this Arsenal squad is ready. That is the show for today. We will be back with full coverage as the title race develops, as we wait to find out whether Arsenal face PSG or Bayern in the final, and as we build towards what could be the most extraordinary conclusion to a football season that any of us have ever witnessed. If you have not subscribed yet, please do it now. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's breakdown. Drop a comment below telling me who you want Arsenal to face in Budapest and how you think the final plays out. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. I am James. This is James Arsenal Analysis. We are going to Budapest. Come on, you Gunners.